You ever feel like you're just caught in this storm of anxiety? You're constantly juggling the regrets from yesterday with all the fears about tomorrow, and it leaves almost no room for today. It's this crushing weight, right? That feeling that you are just one tiny step away from being completely overwhelmed. If that sounds even remotely familiar, you are definitely not alone. The real question is, what on earth can we do about it?
All right, let's dive into it. For this explainer, we are turning to an absolute classic, Dale Carnegie's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Now, this is not some stuffy academic theory. This book was born from Carnegie's own desperate personal struggle. As a young guy, he was just miserable. He hated his job, lived in a room infested with cockroaches, and was battling these awful headaches fueled by constant disappointment and worry. He had to create these principles, not for a book, but to save himself. So, first things first, we have to understand what we're really up against. Because worry, it's not just a state of mind. Oh no, it is a physical force that can have devastating, totally tangible consequences on our health and our lives.
The sheer scale of this problem is kind of staggering. Carnegie actually quotes a chief physician, Dr. O.F. Gober, who estimated that a full 70% of all patients who come to doctors could literally cure themselves if they could just get rid of their fears and worries. I mean, think about that for a second. Their illnesses were real as a throbbing toothache, but the root cause wasn't physical at all, it was worry.
And we're not talking about hyperbole here. Dr. Alexis Carrel, a Nobel Prize-winning physician, he put it so plainly. Unchecked worry isn't just unpleasant, it's literally a matter of life and death. It can lead to heart disease, stomach ulcers, high blood pressure. It wrecks our bodies way before their time. So, what's the antidote? Well, that brings us to our very first actionable rule. And it's a powerful mental model for shutting out all that noise and getting back control of the only time we can actually live in, which is right now.
This idea comes from Sir William Osler, one of the most famous physicians of his generation. As a young medical student, he was just constantly worried about everything. That is, until he read one line that totally changed his life. Our main business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand. From that, he developed this amazing concept of living in day-tight compartments.
So, how did he picture this? Well, Osler compared our lives to a great big ocean liner. A captain can press a button and clank! These huge iron doors seal off different sections of the ship into watertight compartments. He said we should do the exact same thing with our lives. Press a button and let those iron doors shut out the dead yesterdays. Press another one and shut off the unborn tomorrows. And then you're safe for today.
Now wait a minute, this doesn't mean just being careless about the future. Of course not. The whole point is that the only way you can prepare for the future is by concentrating all of your intelligence, all your enthusiasm on doing today's work superbly. Today. You see, good thinking deals with cause and effect, and that leads to smart planning. Bad thinking, that's worry. It just leads to tension and a total nervous breakdown. Okay, but what about those huge, terrifying problems? The ones you can't just shut out? Well, for that, Carnegie gives us a super practical, step-by-step technique he called a magic formula for solving worry situations. And this whole formula came from Willis H. Carrier, the guy who founded the air conditioning industry. So he was once tasked with installing this new, really experimental gas cleaning device, and the project was a total, massive failure. He was so stunned and worried he couldn't even sleep. His company was about to lose $20,000, which was a fortune back then, and he was probably going to lose his job. He was in a complete panic.
And right there, in the middle of that panic, he invented this three-step method. First, he analyzed the situation and figured out the absolute worst possible outcome. For him, losing his job and his company losing that $20,000. Second, he reconciled himself to accepting it. He literally told himself, you know what, I can get another job. The company can handle the loss. And the moment he did that, this incredible sense of peace just washed over him. Finally, with a calm mind, he could devote his energy to improving on that worst-case scenario.
And the results were just incredible. Once he accepted the worst, he was no longer paralyzed by worry. He could actually think. He realized that if he spent an extra $5,000 on new equipment, it would fix the problem. So the company did it, and instead of losing $20,000, they made a $15,000 profit. Facing the worst gave him the clarity to find the solution.
So, building on that idea of clarity, our final rule is a structured process for taking a confusing, emotional worry and breaking it down into a logical, actionable plan.
And to see this in action, man, let's look at the story of Gainland Litchfield. He was an American businessman in Shanghai during World War II. After the Japanese invasion, he got accused of hiding assets. And he just knew he was about to be sent to the Bridge House. This was the infamous torture chamber of the Japanese secret police. His friends had died there. He was, as you can imagine, absolutely terrified.
But instead of just panicking, he went to his typewriter and used a method he'd relied on for years. He started with the first question, typing it out to make it totally concrete. What am I worrying about? The answer was simple and just stark. I'm afraid I will be thrown into the Bridge House tomorrow morning.
Next, he typed out the second question. And then he spent hours just thinking through and writing down every single possible course of action. He could try to explain to the admiral, but the guy was cruel, didn't speak English. He could try to escape, but he was being watched constantly. He could hide in his room, but they would just come and get him.
Or there was a fourth option. He could go to the office on Monday morning and just act as if nothing was wrong. After analyzing the probable consequences of each one, he realized this was his only real chance. Maybe the admiral would be busy, or maybe he'd cooled off. And even if he was confronted, at least he'd have an opportunity to try and explain.
So what happened? Litchfield went to the office the next morning. The admiral glared at him, but said nothing. Weeks later, the admiral was transferred back to Tokyo, and the danger was over. By analyzing the cold, hard facts, instead of reacting to his fear, he literally saved his own life.
So the really crucial point here is that these aren't just clever little tricks. Living in day-tight compartments, facing the worst, analyzing the facts, these are the building blocks for a fundamental shift in how we approach our lives. It's about moving from a life dictated by fear to one guided by purpose and calm.
You know, Carnegie shares this beautiful ancient Sanskrit poem. It's called Salutation to the Dawn, and it's the same one that Sir William Osler kept on his desk. It just perfectly captures the essence of this entire philosophy. All we have is today. And if we can live this one day well, it transforms our past into happy memories and our future into a vision of hope.
So that really leaves us with just one final provocative question. This isn't about some distant future goal. The opportunity to live without that crushing weight of worry is right here, right now, in this very day. So when will you start?